This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Cisco. Cisco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NCF&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, showing up 1 minute before the kitchen closes, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss, and we head out to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Enlightenment of the Senses episode with the brains behind Counter. In Charlotte, we have Chef Sam Hart and pastry chef Faith Morley. Welcome.
Well, hello. What's up?
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
We're excited to have you on. We're doing a little virtual, digital, video, and podcast here. So thanks everybody for jumping in. And this is exciting. We love having you here. And wow, such fanfare has come out of the old CLT from what you all have put together. Like from what I've heard, it sounds like I'm really missing out. Now, how long have you been open?
So we opened up our first location back in September of 2020. We actually signed the lease, built the restaurant, opened the restaurant, and closed it all during COVID. And then in December of last year was when we opened up our new location of Counter 2.0 that allowed us not only to expand in the amount of space, but really get to do a more intense and full experience than what we were able to do before.
Yeah, and that experience is, as we were, talking about before, is immersive and very sense enlightening. It is a testament to all the senses. You guys, when you say counter, it's not like what people might think about, like, oh, step up to the counter. It's the counterintuitive, counterculture, counter of all things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, you happen to sit at a counter when you're dining there.
Sure.
But yeah, that's why we have that all-important dash at the end of the name, is because it stands for, as you mentioned, us really being the counterbalance to the standard fine dining restaurant, as well as being countercultural. Really, our goal is to be the antithesis. And if we can do that, we're in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's what I like. I mean, talk about concepts. A lot of people have concepts. Oh, we're opening up a pizza restaurant or a sushi restaurant, but this, you're changing. First of all, it's a 10 to 14 courses you could do. And Faith, you're here, and we'll get into the pastry side of things, because you could do an entire dessert coursed menu.
We did that last week. I mean, not last week, last month. Yeah.
We run some special menus. So those are week-long menus, aside from our current menu that we run for 90 days.
Yeah.
But so recently we just did an all desserts menu. So it was 10 courses, all dessert, kind of flipped your brain on what you'd expect from a dessert. A lot of savory elements were involved, kind of playing on classic desserts, but then flipping them on their heads. For example, we did a creme brulee dish that we kind of mixed with a chawanmushi, and served that with eel and a fish caramel sauce on top. That was like the brulee cracklin. So
It was
super
really good.
interesting.
So it's like
and
mixing
different.
savory and sweet together.
Yes.
Yeah. We really like to mess with people.
Yeah.
It's one of my all-time favorite things. But yeah, so we get bored very easily. So we've done 43 different menus since September 2020, about 550 different dishes. And
43 different menus. That's more seasons than menu. I mean, that's more menus than seasons.
Yeah. So we have 4 seasonal theme menus, and then a little bit more than every other month. It ends up being like 2 every 3 months. We have a special menu for just 1 week that we only do that.
Wait, going back to that dessert menu, how much diabetes was given out that night?
1 left foot.
Yeah,
That's not bad
seriously.
sacrifice. I mean, for all that great
I
food.
don't think I could say that.
But I mean, no, that's great. We got some humor in this. I mean, what a
It
wild.
was a big Daniel Day-Lewis menu.
Yeah, nice reference.
There we go. That only people over 30 and under 50 will know that joke.
That's right.
Yeah, my left foot. He won an Academy Award, folks. It's
He
not
did.
that obscure.
He did. He legitimately learned how to paint with his left foot for that movie.
Yeah. So what I love about that is it's kind of telling as into your soul, Sam, and you too, Faith, that like I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you guys are kind of nerds, like in the nicest of ways, right? Like you know a lot about maybe a lot of things. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
I like to
I mean,
actually keep a
self-proclaimed.
tally.
Yeah.
You like
I
to
like
what?
to keep a tally in my head of how many times a day I hear Sam just say a random fact, and I'm like, "How do you know that?" So I'm like about to go buy a Snapple cap and just start clicking it around the kitchen.
And that's even before, he's from a time that is way before Alexa ever came out, or even, when he went to school, there was no Google even.
Right.
So kudos to
it's-
you.
I had this like really weird obsession with trivia knowledge when I was younger, and so I memorized a couple Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, you're like sitting there with the boxes going
I
through
was that
all the
weird
answers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have just like this weird lizard brain. I don't know.
So it's obvious that you guys don't let the grass grow between your feet because, I mean, okay, restaurant work is hard enough. We all know it. All of our people are listening, or a lot of industry people know how hard it is to start a restaurant. But when you change these concepts and then you change the menus and then you're changing the entire, aesthetics at some point or the whole immersive experience. So like you're basically opening, it sounds like you're reopening a restaurant or doing a restaurant opening like every couple of months. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So we completely changed the decor, the artwork, the menu. We even get new plateware for some of the courses. The wine pairings completely changed. Sometimes I'll give Michael, our sommelier, enough notice. Sometimes I won't. But
Yeah.
So you're
No,
also a masochist. Both of you are
exactly
also masochists.
110%. So, but also like this is whenever you first start working at counter, I feel like you slowly have this realization of how obsessive compulsive I am. And then you're like, okay, cool. Or you leave. But we actually have the remaining 126 menus of the restaurant figured out for the remaining 9.5 years of the restaurant. And so we obviously don't have each
He's not
individual one of the
joking.
dishes figured out, but we know like what we're going to do, what the inspiration behind it is. And so then that way, I can say to myself, oh, that's going to be really cool when we do XYZ menu in like 2030. I'm going to write that note down in my notes.
Wow.
So Sam,
yeah,
I have to pause because the innovation there is just unbelievable. So this is a perfect segue into pausing for a quick word from our proud title sponsor, Cisco.
Yeah, because here at the NCFB podcast, we're all about getting food service professionals what they need to do great work. And that's why we're teaming up with Cisco, because it makes so much sense.
Cisco has exactly what you need right when you need it. It's innovation delivered.
Yeah, Cisco stocks fresh, innovative ingredients and fresh, innovative ideas. The high-quality food and the top-of-the-line products you need to operate at your best, plus the business network to keep you up on top of trends and industry standards while you do it.
Because you want it all and you want it delivered. Cisco has the flexibility to deliver to any business at any size to meet your needs, whether it's the counter or whether it's a corporate office. Get the industry's largest supply chain network and most sophisticated logistics working for you.
Visit Cisco.com, that's SYSCO.com, to learn more about Cisco's worldwide innovation and delivery.
Cisco, at the heart of food and service.
All right, hey, Matt, let's take a quick little break because we've got someone that's also on the call with us. I believe Lane is there from Carbro Coffee Roasters. Lane, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing excellent. It's awesome that you are here on the show, and we love that you kind of chime in like our good neighbor, our good coffee neighbor, and discuss.
It's coffee talk.
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
podcast.
Coffee talk. So, what do you have for us today, Lane?
Yeah, so today we're drinking a natural gesha variety of coffee, and it's produced by a farmer named Fen Shun Lung. He's also known as the Coffee Prince of Taiwan, and he manages Soju Yuan, which is a coffee farm in the Aleutian Mountain Range in Taiwan. And this coffee is really special. It placed fourth in the International Cup of Excellence Competition's private collection auction in 2021, and the 2022 crop ranked second. So it's a really spectacular coffee. It's in a country that is really known for producing tea. Feng Lung is really a rock star. Not only does he have really excellent harvests, but he's supporting the indigenous minority Soju people who migrated to the island about 7,000 years ago.
That's cool.
So this is his way of protecting the people, the tribe, and preserving the language and culture and their love of coffee.
Well, and we appreciate because you also sent coffee out there to Faith and Sam counter, and so you guys are getting to try it too. Were you able to have a sip of this delicious coffee?
Yes, we are smashing it right now. It's really good.
I wish we had more.
We filled up our French press. It's already at empty. We're going to be brewing more in a little bit.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Faith, you can get more. Just Lane,
You
tell them how
can
do they
have
get
more.
more?
Yeah, it comes in these small little tins, 2-ounce tins, because it's, a cup of excellence coffee. And what I really like about it is red fruits and berries. When you brew it right off the bat, you get blueberry permeates the air, some dark caramel flavors on the nose and palates. And I think the thing that I really love about it most is this really deep cherry cordial aftertaste that reminds me of our Merlot Ceres cherry brandy. Which is always fine to drink, regardless if it's 6 a.m. in the morning or 6 p.m. in the evening.
Yeah, this is unbelievable, and the room just permeated, like you said, with those blueberries as we were brewing it. And I mean, this just changes the whole vibe. You talk about this immersive dining that we've been getting into, and about all of the different feels. This adds to that type of feeling as well. Where
This is an entire sensory experience.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lane. Thank you, Carborough Coffee Roasters, for giving us that experience and always keeping us caffeinated.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you guys have a good day.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye. Well, that was fun. So we're all caffeinated up and we're there. It's kind of cool that Lane was able to coordinate, and so we're both drinking this coffee together too. So I love that she put logistics and innovation and all that from her own brand and connected it out here.
And because they're caffeinated, he just came up with another 103 menus.
Yeah.
I was actually while you were talking about that, I was like, oh, this could be really cool to intertwine in with the curry menu this fall, because that's how they got coffee beans over there. But yeah.
See, you can't be stopped. What does your sock drawer look like?
My partner's here. Audrey might be able to tell you. My sock drawer does actually. This is so sad. It has a menu in it.
I knew it.
It's got one of the sauce menus from last year in it. Yeah,
I will say, Matt, I've never asked you what your sock drawer looked like. I will, while you're thinking of it, I will let you know. I have 2 drawers. My unmentionables and my socks fit into 2 separate drawers. And so I keep my my undergarments off to the left-hand side, and then I put all my athletic wear socks up at the top, and then all of my dress socks in the bottom. But then I realized I don't wear dress socks anymore. And I literally have put a pair of dress socks on once in the last 9 months, I think. Not to be lame, but if you ever see me wearing boots or anything, I'm wearing white, athletic socks
that you got at Costco.
Yeah, exactly. So now I did the flipperoo. I still keep some fancy socks up on the top drawer, but now the bottom drawer fully organized, and all of the socks are pushed through all the way so that the elastic band is not stressing itself. I learned that from someone back in the day. I feel like I could talk to you, Sam, about this because I feel like you have spent time
He's going to go home
thinking
and
about your
redesign his sock
socks.
drawer.
Well, around Asheville, they started a kind of making sausage called sock sausage, actually right on the border in North Carolina and Tennessee. and there's the I want to say it's like the American, like All American Sausage Company or something, whatever is based in there. They actually have a cabinet that you can see when you walk in that's filled with sock sausage. That like they have it hanging in like tube socks.
If
Thing.
only someone was gonna do
All
an
American
event-
Sausage Company. That's what it is.
There it
Sorry.
is.
Oh, listen closely. There might be a nugget dropping.
Yeah, if only somebody was planning an event in Asheville based around tubed meat and bubbles.
I don't think that festival is appropriate for the podcast.
Oh, contraire, mon frere. This is the first time we're announcing it, and no one knows this, but I'm actually not being facetious. We may be doing a
Wow,
late.
this is early, folks. Play that like that change drop you got there.
Yeah,
The ring. Yeah.
yeah. We may. We're early workings, but I mean, come on. You mentioned Asheville and you mentioned sausage in the same sentence. I would be remiss if I couldn't tell you, or if I didn't tell you, that the NCF&B podcast might be doing an event in Asheville late fall that might blend some of those elements together. And we're coming out to the west side, y'all.
That's cool.
Shamptober,
Are you going to
bubbles
be in
and
the?
brats.
Are you going to be in the Highlands?
Well,
No, we're actually there
it's
is
going to be
a-
about 15 minutes outside of downtown Asheville.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have a
we're going to be at
location.
the Highlands Food Festival this year, so
Oh,
I was hoping that would be the case.
All right. Well, we'll have to continue this
Yeah.
conversation because if you're around
Yes.
and you're available, we would love to see what kind of meat you could put in a
tube
tube.
sock sausage you can make.
I'm definitely out, but I am not available, Max.
Well, all right, you heard it here, everybody. Getting back to that sock drawer, that is.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, I don't even know, like we kind of mentioned it, but just as a reset, just for our guests that are listening, when you walk into Counter 2.0 and all, when you walk in, what is it like? Like visually or verbally tell us the experience so that people kind of understand, because this is not a conventional environment.
So, well, first off, when you come in to the restaurant, you actually come into a different restaurant. So the space that we're actually in right now is called Biblio. It's our wine-focused concept where you actually purchase a bottle of wine and then we make a tasting menu on the fly, a la minute, called The Blind to go along with that particular bottle of wine.
Wow.
But when it's ready for you to come back into Counter, you go through some curtains and through a hallway. We call it the butterfly hallway because it's a bunch of old record vinyls that we turn into butterflies. And then once you go through that, you pretty much come into this cement block warehouse that also happens to have a super high level kitchen suite in it. So we have a custom Heston suite, which is what they have at Per Se, French Laundry, 11 Madison Park, all that stuff. And then there's the concrete counter that goes around. But then the decor is completely dependent on what the theme is. So right now we're doing a menu called Here and Now. It is a completely vegetarian menu where every single ingredient comes from the Carolinas, from the oil, salt, spices.
Oh, cool.
Literally everything has to come from the Carolinas. And so when you walk in, there's also portraits of 10 different people who we talk about throughout the evening who are also from the immediate area of Charlotte. And then we have a bunch of flowers and herbs and eucalyptus and lavender that's hanging from the ceiling, all from local farms within, actually all of that's from like a 20-minute drive of the restaurant.
Okay. I just, there's so many things I want to touch in there, but thank you. That really gave us a very specific mental picture. Like I felt like I was in that shot from Goodfellas walking through the Copacabana, walking through. But I imagine every restaurateur, chef owner listening to this, pastry chef, and they're saying, these people are out of their fucking minds. Like, so every time you change, you have to, I know I'm getting back on this, but like, it's mind blowing the amount of work and labor this takes so you have to retrain your staff on the entire menu. Who do you get to do like, and you do the new plates, new ambiance and everything. Like, does that not drive you crazy and just exhaust you on top of everything else that you're doing as a business owner and chef?
So it used to. So the first year and a half of Counter, I was designing almost every single dish. There might have been like 3 on the menu that I didn't personally put together. But then when we got more into the flow of things and we had employees that had been here for at least, 6 months to a year, and they understood how things operated and they knew how things went together, then I could say, hey, make a dish off of this, make it your own, put it together, and then have it go with the story that we're doing. And what's really cool is that
So you come
my
up with
job
the
is-
story first, like the overarching theme. Of what
So
the
we
men-
start,
okay.
we start story first, then the dishes go in with that story, and then we find the music that perfectly pairs along with it. Sometimes the song will actually come first too. But with this, I used to try and be the way that I describe it is like I used to try and be the Michael Jordan all the time, like just constantly figuring out how to do everything and doing everything myself.
Right.
But I've personally discovered that it's a whole lot cooler to be the Phil Jackson and just have a bunch of Michael Jordans work in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's where some of these coolest dishes come into play.
He's talking
Faith's
about
first ever-
football, everybody, just so you're aware.
But like Faith's first dessert ever on a menu was inspired by, so it was for our modern art menu. So it was a showcase of 20th century modern artists, and the piece and the artist that inspired that whole menu was a piece that I saw of Georgia O'Keeffe in Chicago at the Art Institute in Chicago. And that was something that I had a dish in my mind for a long period of time of what I wanted that to be. But then I realized how much cooler it would be if that was Faith's first dish on a menu. And that was hands down one of the best, if not the best dish on the menu in our opening menu at Counter 2.0.
What was the
And
dish,
that
Faith?
was a big reaffirming process to me of, no, I need to lead them in the right direction, but also understand that this staff is beyond not only capable, but they're the absolute best around, and letting them just go crazy.
Yeah. What was the dish, Faith?
It was basically what was that? What was that inspired by? I always forget the name of that dessert. But essentially the flavors that we used were reminiscent of like New Mexico. So there was chili vanilla ice cream. So you eat the ice cream, and at first it's that sweet vanilla up front, and then at the back it kind of gets you with a little bit of heat. Some prickly pear in there, a lime cake with salted lime crumble, some torched meringue on the side,
Lime zest.
Geez, that's thinking about that. I'm like, that's so long ago now. Wow. But it was essentially what's the name of the thing itself?
Taos.
I'm totally blanking.
Just call it Taos for now.
Ice cream. You set it on fire.
Oh, Baked Alaska.
Baked Alaska. It was
there
a
you
play
go.
on. It was a play on a Baked Alaska. So it was just kind of like a deconstructed Baked Alaska, but the way that it was presented in the bowl was super elegant and
Well, you know what Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings
Everything looks like a
are reminiscent of.
vagina. Yeah, I got it.
yes.
Yeah. So that's why we played the flaming lips when we brought it out, because
Oh.
we were torching it. And yeah. And the funniest thing is that our sommelier, Michael Myers, that's his actual name.
Oh, wow.
And he's redheaded. You can imagine how terrifying his childhood was.
Yeah.
But he and I, as a joke, would go up to a couple, and we would go up to the gentleman and be like, and pull out like my tweezers and like point at something and be like, you might have missed this, but there's a very small garnish
Oh
up at the
my
top of
God.
this dish. You might have missed it. And they would be like searching for it. They'd be looking for it. They would be like
Yep.
moving the spoon around.
Guys can never
And then
find it.
Their wife would be dying laughing,
Oh
just
my
like
God.
absolutely rolling. And
That's hilarious.
we have too much fun. And
I love that though. I mean,
yeah, that was a great dessert. That was a really, really great dessert. Faith knocked it out of the park, and that really I think honestly, that set the tone for everyone else that was new, because Faith never worked at Counter 1.0.
Oh.
No,
So-
I started in September, and we were still doing pop-ups and private
Yeah.
dinners at that point. So
and so
I
for
had worked a menu here.
Yeah.
for you, Faith, you had already kind of known a little bit about what Counter was doing, I would assume, because that's why you had interest there. But like leading up to that, what were you doing, and what like because this is a big type of mission to tackle, right? So What were you doing that kind of led you up to thinking that this might be the right fit for you?
Well, I was head pastry chef at Peppervine for 3 years. 3 years is a long time, and I felt myself kind of getting a little stagnant there. So it was just time to spread my wings and grow. And being that, like you guys said, counter is constantly changing and doing crazy things all the time. I figured that would be the best place to enhance my skills and learn new things daily, and just let it rip.
Both of you, well, I think what Max is getting at, like, you both had pretty meteoric rises into the position you are now. Like, okay, Chef Sam, like, you don't have the resume that reads like a James Beard nominated semifinalist. Like, you were working for T-Mobile, you were working for Charlotte Media, you were selling books on Amazon or something like that, and then decided to like go back to community school. And
Were you looking at my LinkedIn profile?
I mean, I may have.
So I haven't updated that since I got into food, but
that was
what's
only
funny
like
is
2016.
while we were getting into this, I actually brought this up to Faith. I have been in the industry for almost the exact amount of time that y'all's podcast has been going on.
Yeah.
So
That's not very long, though. That's the point you're making. I mean,
yeah,
it's 6.5 years. Yeah.
So I was very into cooking since I was 21. That was honestly when I cooked my first meal for myself and became obsessed. But I was working for Hart Radio at the time as a national account executive, and I was cooking for a couple friends and a couple clients of mine. And there was an album that came on. I just had this like weird epiphany. It's like, oh, it'd be cool if one of those tasting menu joints, they paired music with the food and not just wine. And I just couldn't sleep that night or the next night. And then I quit my job and went to culinary school that day. So then I realized because when I went to culinary school, I was one of the oldest people there. Even though I was only like 24, 25, I was like, I have a lot of ground to make up. So I started working and studying nonstop every day, all day. And that's really when I wanted to start growing. And thankfully the concept of counter was with me since day one. So it was a very pinpointed, focused effort every day. But then I worked here in Charlotte for a while, helped open up a couple restaurants. And then I went up to Chicago and worked at a few spots up there because I knew with the level of what I wanted counter to be, I needed to work in some Michelin star environments, work for some very creative chefs, but then always had the idea that I was going to come back down to Charlotte and open it up here.
Yeah.
So it's not the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing to become.
Oh, that was 100% the inspiration behind it.
Oh, that like his idea of you got to put your 10,000 hours in to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, with only say 6 years of being in the business, it's not like you spent your entire childhood or your entire professional life coming up with this. You did a pivot not that long ago. Right. I mean, now I assume you probably put those 10,000 hours in over. I don't know. Are there 10,000 hours in 6 years? I don't know how many hours there are.
Yeah. So I actually I did the math on this.
Oh, yeah. I should just ask you. You would know this. Yeah.
Well, if you do 100 hours a week for 52 weeks, that's 5,200 hours. So what I wanted to do was put 10,000 hours on top of a standard work week for a line cook, which is honestly like 60. So I wanted to put in an additional 10,000 hours solely focused on how we design counter by the time we opened up. So that was, it was a lot of work.
You did almost 20,000 hours of crafting your design, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's really cool and like obsessive, but like in the best way possible, I would say. Like, I love when someone wants to delve into something and just, I mean, I fall down this line too. I mean, I don't know if I'm asking too personal of a question, but like, do you have ADHD or ADD? Or are these like parts of like, because I don't look at these, by the way, when I ask like these are disabilities or anything. I look like these are enhancements, and if it's almost like your superpower, if that's what you have, because it feels like the common person wouldn't have the skill set to be able to focus on this.
So with my upbringing and kind of where I was at getting into when I was like 24, 25, It was more like I just didn't feel like my life had purpose and there wasn't really a focus to it of any kind. And so when I realized, because about 2 weeks before that whole situation happened where I had that epiphany, I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman named Eric Thomas. He goes by ET. He's a motivational speaker and all this stuff. And he talked about how if you are lucky, if you are exceptionally lucky in your life, you'll figure out why you're here. But you'll never be able to get that moment a second time. So when I had that epiphany in my mind, I was like, oh, this is it. This is that thing that I need to do in my life.
Yeah.
And so personally, that was a moment where I was like, okay, my life finally has meaning. It finally has a purpose, and I'm not letting that go. Everything is on a spectrum, right? So
Right.
I don't have autism, but I am close on the spectrum to being officially that. So I got a touch of it, but yeah, I mean, it's like,
So, Sam,
it's
out of that
yeah.
moment, you must have a dish that goes along with "Lose Yourself" from Eminem.
So this is what's really interesting. So we did a menu called Cinema,
Okay.
and one of the last dishes that didn't make the cut was a dish using mom's spaghetti. And but the final course, so that menu was about covering our favorite Michelin star chefs and their signature dish. And then also, it was the covers dish, not cinema. So the covers dish also, it was us covering our favorite dishes, and then all the music was covers as well. So we also always end where we will begin the next menu. So we did Oops, I Dropped the Lemon Tart dish from Osteria Francesana and Massimo Bottura, but we literally dropped lemon tarts on top of plates from like 6 feet up. And then we were playing Where Is My Mind from Fight Club, but a cover of it. And then as we were walking out, we played a cover of Lose Yourself to get into the cinema menu that would happen later. But then also during the cinema menu, our final dessert song was Lose Yourself. So we've not done a full dish around it.
Okay.
Because also Eminem, it's very hard to do a dish in honor of Eminem because there's so much that's going on. It's usually very aggressive. And
that's why the cover is probably better. It's less aggressive.
Well, it's more
I
like,
think we can make something work.
yeah, but it's more
I mean,
like,
come on, this
like,
opportunity
really have to
comes
live
once
up
in
to
a
this. Like
lifetime.
yeah. And we've had so many people ask us to do an Eminem tribute dinner, but like,
I would love that.
that would be fucking crazy.
I don't know. It sounds like Faith has already written half the menu. Look at her. She's going nuts over
she
there.
like we call her Little Hood Rat. She like she is a huge Eminem fan.
Well,
Hood fairy. She's a hood
obviously,
fairy.
it's like
But
on the nose, but you'd have to incorporate little melt in your mouth, not in your hand candies, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's obvious. Like, I was laughing because
there's so much.
someone just said to me like 2 weeks ago, they're like, wait a minute, Eminem is Marshall Mathers' initials? And I go, yeah, hello, 25 years ago. And they're like, wait, really? I'm like, you're my age. How did you not know this? Like, I get it if you're an 8-year-old and you didn't know, but like the person was like in their 40s that said this. I'm like, what rock have you been living under this whole time? Anyhow, they know who they are, and I'm calling you out.
But I just feel bad that anyone who's like under the age of like 28 doesn't remember Eminem taking over like MTV with the like Curtain Call album and like all that stuff. It's like,
what's MTV?
All right, hang on.
Literally, I was just playing a bunch of videos on TV because like Hulu has a station that plays music videos. I guess they're bringing it back, and my daughters are like, "What is this?" And I go, "This is video television." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "These are all music videos, and they play them on a loop." And they're like, "Huh?" And then they sat there, kind of like entranced for like 30 minutes, and I'm like, "Yeah, see, it works. We like this. Why did we get away from this?"
Wait, do people still make music videos? Like, is that a
Yeah,
they do.
Okay.
It's just not that popular.
What I'm really excited about is Tyler Perry just bought BET and VH1, and he said he's going to bring back like the video countdown in the morning.
Oh, and
that's
like,
So that'd be
great.
cool,
Yeah.
if it happens.
video jockeys. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
let's get back.
transition from Eminem to F&M for a second. Faith
Okay.
Morley. Okay. So when you come up with this concept, like, okay, restaurant redo, we're gonna come up with a new thing. Do you get like, Faith, I need you to come up with like 3 dishes for this, or she just starts spitballing and Faith, what do you do? Or do you be like, okay, I have ideas for this many dishes?
Generally, I am under the assumption that I am going to be making 2 desserts, so that's already in my brain.
Okay.
And sometimes he'll throw a savory dish at me, like our current menu. I'm working on a root vegetable tart, so that changes daily, and it's just a spiralized root veg tart with vegan short crust and
I like how she says just a spiralized vegetable tart. If you
Right.
look at our Instagram, you can see how over the top ridiculous this thing is. It takes 3 hours to make, and that's doing it quickly. But go ahead.
yeah. Well, he gives me a generalized basis of where my direction should head, but then I kind of just take over from there and do whatever I kind of want, as long as he likes it.
Yeah.
Right.
With your team, like, what does your team look like? Like, how many people are in it? How much is just the 2 of you doing the work, and then how much support are you getting?
So right now we have 6 people on staff as far as the kitchen is concerned. So we have Faith as pastry chef. We also have a chef de cuisine in Youngwon who also does usually 2 dishes a menu, sometimes 3. But his focus is more of making sure that everything is being run properly, everything is tasting right, being that palate for the restaurant, if you will.
Yeah.
And then we have a junior sous chef in Garrett. He's actually got 2 dishes on the menu right now. And then we have a tournant named Kenny. He just joined us a couple months ago, but he's got a dish on the menu. And then we have a commis named Trace, because he's our 3rd Sam, so we call him Trace. And then we have our R&D director, Ashley, he's got the greatest resume you've ever seen in your entire life. But what's crazy is that, like, if you look at the resume of every person that works at Counter, they could all run their own thing. Like it's really awesome to have everyone together and under one roof. But the way that we kind of go about menu development is I'll let them know like I told them last month what next year's menus are, and they've known about these menus since late last year, and then we'll dive more into it a few months out. One thing that we're starting tomorrow is every week we're going to future menu meetings for an hour every Wednesday. You got a calendar notification about that. But yeah, so we'll really start diving in a little bit more into detail a little bit further out, because honestly we're able to do that now. They're getting the grasp of menus a whole lot quicker now.
That sounds like a
So it
podcast
allows us
right
to
there,
be
by
more
the way.
detailed.
Like,
What?
if we just put a microphone in that meeting, that would be a podcast in itself.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy for sure.
So, okay, how many people do you seat at Counter?
So we seat up to 18. We
18,
haven't been
it's
seating that
small.
many people this summer, but
Sure.
yeah,
but
we
it's-
seat up to 18. When we decided to do a vegetarian menu, it definitely cut down on the amount of people who have booked. But that's one of those. I like to die on a lot of hills and fall on a lot of swords. That being one of them.
Let's make less money, everybody.
And
I'm just kidding.
how many turns do you do on a full 18?
We do 2 Tuesday through Friday, and then just for this menu, we're not doing this shit ever again. We are doing 3 turns on
shit.
Saturday. But screw that. We're not doing that.
When you
again.
do the turn, everybody is getting plated at the same exact time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everyone's
It's-
going to 18 courses.
It's
Otherwise,
pretty much
you'd have like
choreographed
lemons
to
dropping.
the music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
choreographed to, and it's choreographed. It's crazy.
Yeah,
You gotta-
like we listen to the same songs daily throughout the menu while it's going on. So there gets to a point where we hear cues in the song, so we know it's time to pick up the plate and walk it, or
Wow.
certain things where it's like, oh, it's time for Sam to do a second spiel about this dish. The song, is about to transition, or so
Yeah.
it's just learning and hearing and listening and following along to the track list.
And so, like, one dining experience is like what, like an hour and a half or so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an hour and 34 minutes.
And what is the price?
So right now our vegetarian menu is 185 for 10 courses, and then we have
With wine pairings, or that's additional?
So it's separate. So wine pairings, we have 3 different wine pairing options, a beer pairing and a spirit free pairing.
Okay.
So we have 5 different pairing options. But then
Really
our
cool.
next menu and then our special dinners vary. So we have a Prince tribute dinner in August that's currently on sale. Greatest musician in American history. You can't debate me on this. It's $225 for 10 courses, just because we're utilizing some really high level proteins for that. And then our curry menu, which is our next main theme, it will be $185 for the 10 course, and then it'll be $225 for the 14 course.
Got it.
Wow.
Okay. Before we get out of here, got to get into this question, as it's we're recording this during June Pride Month, and there's a lot of literature in your restaurants about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and you guys are really embracing that, and I applaud you. It's great. And we were talking about wine pairings, and because I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm in the wine business currently as my day job, so there's a lot of talk about this, a lot of articles and literature about how sommeliers, wine professionals are choosing wine based on DEI circumstances and, responsibility, ethics, all this stuff. So I have to pose this question, getting right to the heat of things. Let's say you're coming up with the menu, you're coming up with wine pairings, and there are 2 wines that you're thinking about for a dish. One is checks all the boxes of all the DEI, all the political correctness, dare I say. I'll probably get countered for that, but I'm saying this as the devil's advocate, like checks all the boxes ethically. And then there's another wine that is, you don't know their corporate policy or their politics, and they're just quiet about that or personal about that, but the wine is clearly superior and makes a better pairing. What do you do?
So for me, you have to really make sure that you're saying a wine is superior in the right way, right? So because also wine is incredibly subjective. I think it's the most subjective thing that exists.
So I'm saying without
No, I get what you're saying.
Subjectivity in your mind, like you clearly have tasted both wines, you've tasted them blind,
Yeah.
and then you've come up, this highlights my food and the wine, it works better.
Right. So with us at Counter, our number 1 priority is our employee. Our number 2 priority is the story that we tell. So hands down, if there is a wine that is very close, if you want to say in the pairing, the story in itself will make it infinitely better for the menu, because that's the whole goal of Counter, is to educate, entertain, and tell people a story. And if that wine can do it, it makes it taste better and you enjoy it more. So for us, it's how much you enjoy that wine. So for example, there's a very well-known winemaker out in Oregon that makes what a lot of people would say is really, really good wine, that, they have complete opposite views as we have in the restaurant. But then, we're able to still bring in stuff like Antica Terra with Maggie. And, you cannot be the biggest fan of Oregon Pinot, but when you hear that story and you taste it with the food, it will make you feel better. And I think that's what makes wine even better. So at Biblio and Counter, which literally yesterday we found out we got bumped up to 2 glasses. We're Best of Excellence Award this year. Counter is the smallest restaurant on the Eastern Seaboard with 2 glasses now. So with that being said, 70% or more of our wine, so at 70% minimum, 70% of our wine is woman owned or operated, woman winemaker, POC winemaker, or LGBTQ plus winemaker, because frankly, their stories are not often told. And it's so much more exciting for us to tell that story. And also, usually their wines are just as good, if not better, but they just haven't had the platform before. So, that's one big thing for me too in Pride Month. It's like, yes, it's great to be excited about Pride Month and showcase that, but I like to celebrate that the other 11 months out of the year to make up for, capitalism and the corporatization of it just during June. So I really don't talk about it that much during June. And, there's a great article in Unpretentious Palette about this last week about how in 4 days, everyone's going to take their flags down and forget about it. And, that's not what we want to be. We want to tell these stories all year round.
I highly agree with that. And I always find, I mean, I get the understanding for why we do a month to highlight something, but I also feel like it kind of feels like we're just checking a box to just to get through it. And it's like, that's not the point of it. I mean, hell, Latin American or Hispanic Culture Month is the most, no one ever complains, because also that's like I'm saying this from my mother's side of the family. Latinos in America just don't complain. I don't know why. Like, it's just like this thing, like, it's like, yeah, whatever. We don't give a shit. We're just happy to be in a country that's not as horrific as some of the countries we fled to that now we're living in the United States. But like, does anyone know when the Latino month is?
It's August.
It's not, and it's not a month.
It's not August?
It's the most.
Oh, it's August.
It's the most bullshit of all things. It's half of September and half of October.
Oh,
it's
shit.
September 15th to October 15th. And if you
that's
don't
weird.
know, you know
I don't know why I thought
now.
it was August.
But it's like,
It's by the Mayan calendar.
by the way, this just shows, like, in North Carolina, there are not enough Latino representatives, and I am the worst to be a representative because I barely speak the language. But I did grow up with a Latino mom in a Latin neighborhood, so I do kind of understand the culture to an extent. But just proving that we don't have enough people that are Hispanic that are leaders in North Carolina, I was asked to be the speaker at the Hispanic Heritage Month gala like last year, and I'm like, guys, I cannot do that. I technically can't speak the language, literally, but I do love the culture and want to be a proponent. But like, who cares that we're going to spend February talking about African American culture? Why don't we just acknowledge African Americans for the whole year, and Pride Month, not just for June, and not just, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of understand where you're at with that.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought this up, because the biggest element of what we're talking about right now with Here and Now, and so this whole year of menus are intertwined. So we are talking about, so our first menu of this year was street food, and it was to showcase, the traditional origins of a lot of the foods that we love so much, as well as to talk about some of the harder stories about what's going on in those areas. Here and Now is about the fundamental elements of what Carolina was before Carolina. So showcasing a lot of the Cherokee, Shawnee, Lumbee, and so many other native nations of this area, and really giving them the respect and honor that they're due. But then on top of that, our next menu of curry is completely not about curry, because that's a British dish, and mainly talking about what Britain did during colonization and force a diaspora of so many different countries, cuisines around the world, but also not just flavors, but people, music, arts, culture, all of these other things. And then our winter menu of time is also going to kind of bring all this back in together of where, we're hoping to go and what we're learning from different communities and things like that. So, I have a very, very firm belief, and this is kind of where maybe this podcast turns into a Joe Rogan experience over anything else. But I have a very firm belief that in the next 20 years, especially the United States, has to make a decision if we are willing to teach the correct history of not only this area, but the world, or we can continue to lie to ourselves and cripple, the education of the United States. Because
the term
it's really sad.
Preach. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, and the message that you hear pretty often now is history is told by the winners of, by the winners of every war. So when we're not hearing the true story, we're not getting the full thing. And it's why, as Americans, if you're a traveler and you're an American, you know that the rest of the world doesn't really like you. And you're like, why do you not like us? We're so kind and we love everything. It's like, well, it's not that they don't like you. It's that we realize you, American, don't know who you really are, because we do, because we read a book that's not jaded by the way we were
Different
institutionalized.
Well,
like, definitely read the book Latin History. Like that book opened up my mind forever.
Right.
I went to see Leguizamo's one-man show of Latin history for it, like Latin History for Idiots or something like that.
Yeah.
That he won a Tony for, and he talks about that textbook specifically. And then when I read that thing, oh my God, that changed my life forever.
Well, before this does turn into a Joe Rogan experience,
I could go all night.
yeah, we could go, but we
gotta
do
mushrooms
we do have
first.
well, that I'll get you to source those
Done and
locally
done.
for us. But I'll just touch on the point of I think I would say I would push you on the correct history to maybe do a multi-perspective history, because
Yes.
what is the correct history? Everybody has their own.
That
true
is
hero
exactly
story.
what it is. It's got to be looked at from all viewpoints and all paradigms. Yeah.
Agreed. I do want to get out of here on one other story or one other question, last question, that's more timely. And it's more important for me, damn it. It's my truth. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to be in Charlotte next week. I'm going to be with my
Awesome.
kids. I can't bring my kids.
This is where Matt
to
looks for a
counter.
free dinner. All right.
No, I want to go. Where should I eat in Charlotte? We're going to a Charlotte FC game. Where would
How
where
old
would
are your kids?
7 and 4?
Yeah, we've had 7-year-olds and we've had 4-year-olds.
You don't want them in my
you
restaurant.
haven't had
trust
the
me.
Weiss boys.
They are wild.
It's a totally different
Untamed.
experience. It's immersive.
I would
It's an
definitely
immersive
say-
It will
experience.
immerse you in it. Yeah.
I will definitely say check out Optimus Hall and everything that's there for sure.
Yes,
Okay.
lots of options.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Camp North End, kind of same thing.
Yeah, Camp North End's a good area to go to.
Which one?
Camp North End, all
Camp-
the stuff that they have in there.
You got to check in
And
cheese.
don't you have a brewery also in your or that you've worked at in?
So
that
we
does-
work with Dream Chaser Brewery for
Dream
our
Chaser.
beer pairing. But I mean, there's like 5,000,
Lots of breweries here.
breweries.
Yeah.
It's insane. But I would also say, because you're going to be closer to this area, Restaurant Constance could be a really, really good one to go to. That's actually in our old space.
Oh.
But Chef
nice.
Sam
There
does
you
an
go.
amazing job there. Yeah, those
All
are
right.
those are
Well,
awesome.
that's awesome.
Matt, just go on Yelp, bro. Come on.
No, I wanna-
No, don't go on Yelp.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding.
Oh my
well,
gosh.
Hey, I really appreciate we appreciate you both spending time to come on here. Obviously, if you've listened to this far into the episode, you understand the thought process and the intention that the both of you put into, as well as the rest of your team, into this entire experience. And if you really truly care about food and the stories that it can tell, it feels like you are then compelled to go to counter, and now I am compelled to go there. So I'll hit you up.
Without my kids.
I'll pay. I'm not asking for a free meal like this my counterpart over here is. But we'll get.
Did I do that?
It was the subtext, Matt.
okay.
It was the subtext.
Okay.
Anyhow, we very much appreciate you coming here. Like, clearly we need to get out there, and as soon as I do, I'll make sure to put some posts up on social media and all to highlight our experience. But Matt, what else you got?
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It sounds like, honestly, we only scratched the surface and we need like a whole nother episode or two to get more into it. But really appreciate your guys' time. And for all of you out there, go to Charlotte and go eat at Counter 2.0. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NCF&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.